So a few days ago, a poll was released that revealed the top 10 anime fans want in 2020. Now, this poll is something that is usually done every single year by Anime Japan 2020, and thankfully there was enough time for this poll to be ran in February before the entire event of Anime Japan 2020 got cancelled. And I think if you're not living under a rock, you know what's going on in the world and why things are cancelled, etc. So it makes sense. So many were under the impression that maybe this poll might not come out this year and reveal what fans want the most from like certain manga to be adapted into anime, etc., light novels and all that, and it was revealed. Now, I want to go over the list because this list is actually very interesting, and it kind of hints at what we might see coming up in the near future. Maybe not this year, but at the very least we might get some announcements this year, or we might get an anime next year. That's the main point I want to get at, which is very interesting because these polls, from what I have heard and seen in the past as well, when these polls are ran, certain individuals start to ask, like, what do you want most? And this makes companies start to look at what could potentially gain traction and make them money. This is something that has been done many times in the past. I've seen many series that are on these type of polls, etc., for instance from Anime Japan 2020, that actually do release and become an anime series. Hanako is a good example. So I'm very pleased with this list because it does give us some insight into what we might be seeing in the future. Now, some of these series I want to be going over is something that I kind of already expected to one day get a anime, but just seeing this list does kind of reconfirm the fact that it's not just, let's say, individuals in the West that love these series. There are also a lot of fans in Japan that really love these series and want to see them turned into an anime as well. So I want to start from number 10 and work my way down to number 1 and all that, and kind of go over the quick summary that's provided here and just like how exciting or how excited I am for this upcoming series. So anyways, we have at number 10, Chainsaw Man. Now, this series I have kind of a history with because this is a highly requested series. Like, Chainsaw Man is something that is recommended to me on the constant. It was up there with so many other series that are now new and weekly Shonen Jump, and it is a series that I have kind of failed to really jump on board with and really get into reading, which I need to do. I fully understand I need to read Chainsaw Man. I've heard so many good things about it, so many have told me it's an amazing series, and I promise you, I will read it. But seeing it at the number 10 spot out of the top 10, you know, out of countless other manga series or light novels that could get anime, this being in the top 10 makes me very happy. And I think many fans that really, really love Chainsaw Man are probably very excited about this news because maybe there might be an anime one day. Now, personally, I don't know much about Chainsaw Man, so I'm going to kind of read the summary because it's kind of my first time really looking at what it's about. The name says it all. Denji's life of poverty is changed forever when he merges with his pet chainsaw dog, Pochita. Now he's living in the big city and an official devil hunter, but he's got a lot to learn about his new job in chainsaw powers. Okay, so that explains his design. I never understood what was going on there, so that is why he looks human in one moment, and then, you know, he has like a chainsaw head. So that's interesting. That's a really unique. I'm assuming it's going to be very action-oriented, maybe some psychological, but I also could see maybe some dark humor thrown into Chainsaw Man. That's what it seems like to me, just from the quick summary I just read. I could be wrong, but that's from what I've read, but it looks very colorful. Everything I've seen from Chainsaw Man when it comes to the artwork, the illustrations, etc., the volumes, it looks beautiful. So I am excited, and I do hope this gets an anime. The next one is the Apothecary Diaries. Now, this one is something that I have seen mentioned before once or twice. Not much, but once or twice. And I believe last year this series was actually also a part of the top 10 most wanted series to be an anime, so this is the second time it has returned a part of the top 10, so obviously the fan base is still there, it's still quite large, and people want to see it animated. Now, I'm really happy for those individuals. They obviously are a very very, very passionate fan base to really get this series that far ahead for 2 years in a row, maybe 3 years. I don't really know how long this series has been going on for, but let's read what it's about. So, Mao Mao is a pharmacist from the Pleasure District who finds herself working as a servant in the palace of the Emperor. She hopes to quietly fulfill her contract at the palace without ever receiving a visit from the Emperor. She comes to discover that the Emperor's children suffer from short lifespans and begins to investigate the cause as the only 2 remaining royal children continue to get sicker. Okay, that, I'm not gonna lie, that actually sounds really interesting. That really sounds interesting. The start kind of threw me for a loop. They had me in the first half. I thought it was gonna be something like, interspecies reviewers, but then it turned into something very wholesome. I could definitely see this series being more on the romantic side or something, motherly side as well. I could be wrong, but it does seem like it would definitely fit those little wholesome slice of life feels, etc. that many people love in anime. I could definitely see it being a very cutesy series if it got an anime, which I'm going to assume one day it's going to. So it sounds like a good series. The Way of the Househusband. Now, I have seen this series on my local bookstore shelf quite a few times, and it's always caught my eye. The way this series looks, just the cover alone, it looks really, really freaking cool. I like the dude on the cover. He looks awesome. And it interests me that it's literally about a dude that is, you know what, actually, let's just read the summary, okay, before I even talk about it, because that's the whole purpose of this. A retired Yakuza member known as the Immortal Tatsu is living out his post-crime career as a house husband. He still manages to find his way into trouble from time to time, except in the grocery aisle instead of some back alley. So, pretty much, you have an old delinquent husband that is now no longer one. He still dresses like it, I'm assuming just by his attire, the way he looks, probably the way he acts, but he wants to be a simple house husband and take care of his family. It's a very funny and wacky premise, and it honestly makes me interested. I could definitely see that being a funny series that honestly would probably have a lot of wholesome moments too. I could definitely see it being more comedy centered. I don't know much about it as well since I've never read it, but it definitely has caught my interest quite a few times when I've seen it on the bookstore shelves. Number 7 is Tsuketsu. Now this series I know nothing about. I have no idea. It's honestly, it might have been mentioned to me before, but it hasn't really been mentioned much, so I don't really know what this series is, so let's read it and find out. People have suddenly started disappearing. A mysterious self-proclaimed emperor gathers 5 people together through anonymous messages and has to participate in a game. Participants answer the question, do you want to live or die? The game only has one rule, majority dies. So it's a survival game, battle royale series. Okay, so it's something we have seen on a constant. Now, as I've always said, you know, when it comes to short summaries and when it comes to the premise, just because it's cliche doesn't mean it's bad, okay? I want to clarify that. Just because this seems like a stereotypical plot that we have seen so many times, more times than we can count, doesn't mean that Tsuketsu is bad. We need to make sure that is something we ingrain in our head. It really comes down to the writer's execution of characters, themes, etc., and how they can make the story very engaging. So I have to say, this summary doesn't really give enough. I just know it's a battle royale, and it is like a survival death game. That's really all it is, but there's really not much else that is given. So many that are kind of sick of that genre, sick of those like type of stories, might just completely move on past this series and completely shelf it, but I think that's kind of wrong to do so, just judging it and not really taking a moment to look at what it is, because it's a summary that obviously doesn't give enough about the series. But even then, I am happy for these fans that love it. It must be very good to be a part of the top 10. Many fans are obviously recommending it. It's among really great series a part of this top 10, because I've already glanced through this top 10, and a lot of good series are here. So for this to be a part of it, it most likely is doing something really good for itself. Now, number 6, we have Act Age. Now, this series, honestly, is the real reason, one of the main reasons, actually, that I wanted to do this video in the first place, because seeing Act Age a part of the top 10, words cannot express how happy I am to see this series a part of it, because I love Act Age. It's a wonderful manga in Weekly Shonen Jump that it really, I cannot recommend it enough. If you're wanting something very unique and different to read, Act Age is your series. I fully support Act Age as a series. It is so freaking good. Like, I love it so much. Like, I had so much fun reading it. I'm only about maybe 15 or 20 so chapters behind. I need to catch up, but it is fantastic. I honestly think it's one of the best series in the magazine that it is in currently, because of just how different it is, and I love the characters. And if it was honestly made into an anime, I can't imagine just how much quality could be put into it because of what the story is actually about. Which, let's read it for you guys that have no idea what Act Age is. Kei Yonagi is a high school girl aiming to become a successful actress. She catches the eye of a director, Sumiji Kuroyama, during an audition, and he decides to give her her big break. However, Yonagi's acting talent is due to her method acting, which could become dangerous if she doesn't get it under control. Now, this summary, honestly, I think is actually a really good summary, but it doesn't really capture everything that this series has to offer, and it's I'm going back to what I said about the previous one, Tsuketsu, is how a summary, you can't really get the full scope of what it's about. Maybe a quick premise, but you don't really understand why this series is probably a part of the top 10. So, Act Age, I'm just going to be straight up with you. What makes it really good, besides just the artwork, obviously, and the wonderful characters, it's the realistic nature of just how the writer is able to incorporate acting with these characters and just show a different view, a different POV to actors in that world, making movies, shows, etc., commercials for people. It's a very engaging series that gives a lot of insight, but also seeing how actors can lose themselves on their way of becoming a certain character in a role, and that's kind of where Yonagi is, and I really love the series for it. It's so good, and I think if you love psychological, if you love characters that constantly put on masks and stuff, and they're conflicted on who they really are, then you're probably going to love Act Age. Like I said, I cannot recommend it enough. We have number 5, which is Spy Family. Now, Spy Family, this is a series that I have done a first impressions for in the past. I've read about 15 or so chapters. It's fantastic as well. Fully support this just as much as Act Age, at least from what I have, read of it. It's good. It's a good series too. It's another unique series that just stands out amongst the magazine that it's currently in, and honestly, it makes me very happy to see that we don't always need heavy action-orientated series to be very popular. I'm glad this series is on the list. Now, it does have some action. It's not completely deprived of it, but I do like that there's a lot of series now that are a part of certain magazines in Japan now that are not just about action. They're really good stories, engaging characters, unique themes. And so I fully support Spy Family 2 getting an anime. I really hope it does, because if there's anything that I think many will fall in love with, it will definitely be Spy Family amongst this list. Now, to read what it's about, Agent Twilight, the greatest spy for the nation of Westless, has to infiltrate an elite private school. In order to do so, he assumes the identity of a psychiatrist, Lloyd Forger, adopting an orphan girl and marries a city hall employee. Unknown to him, his daughter is an Esper, I found that an easier word, and his wife, Yor, is an assassin. The three learn to become a family while working to complete Twilight's missions and maintain world peace. Now, this is really fun. This is a fun series. I guess if you're wanting something kind of like Kaguya-sama Love is War, then Spy Family is going to be your series. It definitely has some similar vibes to it. If you like Kaguya-sama, you're excited for Season 2 coming out this upcoming season, then Spy Family would definitely be for you if it ever became an anime, or even if you want to read it as a manga. Now, moving on to number 4, we have The Dangers in My Heart, Boku no Kokoro no Yabai Yatsu. Now, this series, as you can see, there really isn't much of a description here I can see, but let's read it anyways. Kyotaro Ichikawa is at the very bottom of his school, and he hides murderous impulses that lurk at the very bottom of his soul. Now, there's really not a lot that is given in this description. All it pretty much says is that the MC is probably an evil guy, someone that kills people. Now, this does have an interesting premise. Also, you could kind of look at it as maybe he's like Yoshikage Kira from JoJo Part 4, because he has these impulses, too. So, maybe this story was inspired by JoJo to some degree. That would be very interesting if it was, but I do think that it'd probably be a darker series. This definitely gives me the impression of a darker series, and the cover doesn't really represent it enough. Like, the cover makes it seem like it's cutesy, but it probably is a dark series. So, I am kind of excited about that. I might actually give that a read. It is apparently a novel, I'm assuming. It's actually not a manga, so I might need to check that out for myself. That actually sounds like something I would really love to read. We move on to number 3, which is Onii-chan wa Ashimai. Now, this series, automatically, looking at it, I'm showing you the picture, it looks very cutesy, it looks very moe blob, and I know there's many fans of these type of style series, so I know many are going to fall in love with this series. It's probably going to have a lot of wholesome slice-of-life moments with a great comedy and characters that you can remember. I definitely could see this series being fantastic just from the images alone. But let's see what it's about. Mahiro Oyama is a withdrawn young man whose life changes after he takes a suspicious medication that belongs to his sister. After taking the medicine, he wakes up and discovers he's transformed into a girl. Mahiro doesn't know the next thing about the lives of girls. Okay, I'm going to be honest with you, that cover, that deceived me. Like, okay, this is very different than I expected. It sounds like Boku Girl, if you've ever read that manga. Pretty good series, honestly. But, this series, so it's, a character that gets transformed, gender bent. That's interesting. You know, we don't really get a lot of anime like that. We really don't. When you really take a moment to think about it, we don't really get anime that's about characters that get gender bent into the opposite gender, like into a male or a female. I find it kind of sad, honestly. I like a lot of those stories. Some of them are very cliche, and some of them don't take it to the level that it should go to. They do the obvious cliches, and that's it. They don't really expand upon it, which would be really cool. But I do think that this series might not go to that limit, but I think it might be a very funny and fun series, just judging by the artwork of it from the cover. So, yeah, I fully support. I would love to see an anime on that. We don't get enough, gender-bent anime to begin with, so I'm down for it. So moving on, we have number 2, My New Boss is Goofy, Atarashi Joshi wa do Tennen. I probably just butchered the crap out of that, but you get the point. And reading the description, it says, 26-year-old office worker Momose recently changed his jobs after his previous boss harassed him. He's worried his new boss will also use power harassment to make his life miserable. Momose is trying to hide his anxious stomach when he first meets his new boss, Shirasaki. However, he's surprised to find his new boss is such a natural airhead that he eliminates all of Momose's anxiety. Okay, so this seems like something that could lead into more of a growth story of someone that deals with a very toxic work environment and someone that, just is not able to really make a lot of friends or be able to get along properly in his work environment. I feel like this series will kind of lighten up the mood to show that it goes both ways. The boss needs to be able to make the work environment fun for the employees, and the employees need to also do the exact same thing. This definitely seems like a very wholesome series, so that sounds interesting. I would like to, actually see that too. Now moving on into the number 1 spot. Now this is another series that was one of the main results of why I wanted to make this video. Komi Cant Communicate is the number 1 out of all these 10 series, out of countless other series that can get anime. Komi Cant Communicate is number 1. That automatically puts just happiness within me, because Komi Cant Communicate is fantastic. It's so wonderful. To describe it, I have seen enough images, and I've seen a little bit from the beginning volume, the first volume, to really know that the series is honestly something that will make waves. If it does get an anime, and it probably will. If there's anything I am 100% certain about out of any of these series on this list, Komi Can't Communicate will definitely get an anime one day. Maybe within a year or two, I definitely see it, because it just has such a unique main character with just really good themes and just everything about it. It's good. And let me just read the description for you. The quiet beauty Komi-san seems out of reach to all of her classmates, except one. Shigeo Tadano knows that Komi-san isn't actually aloof. She just has poor communication skills. Komi-san wants to become better at speaking to others, so she enlists Shigeo's help. So, pretty much, she is someone that just can't communicate. She can't talk with others, you get that from the title, and she needs someone to help her out. And it's just a very cute series, seeing her to kind of overcome her issues of communication skills. Now, there's been a lot of series that are kind of similar to this. I've seen a lot of series that kind of incorporate these themes, but to have a series really focus on it and do it with such a good presentation, it's Can't Communicate. It's one of those series that just does a fantastic job with those themes and really takes it to a new level. So yeah, that's the top 10 most wanted anime, apparently according to fans from Anime Japan 2020 that did the poll. It's exciting. I really do hope to see a lot of these series get anime. I would honestly love every one of these series to get animated, but if there was a few series I had to say, I would want Can't Communicate, I would love Spy Family, Act Age, and also Chainsaw Man to get anime. And if I had to say there's any series in here that I am 100% certain that will probably get an anime, it's probably going to be Can't Communicate. I can definitely see the Way of the Househusband getting an anime just because of the theme of it. Chainsaw Man and probably Spy Family will get one. Act Age can get one, but it really needs a competent studio that really wants to show passion for the series. If there's not enough passion for it, Act Age will just fell right out the gates. That's my 2 cents on it. But, yeah. So tell me your thoughts. How do you feel? How do you feel about this list? Do you agree with it? Do you think that these 10 series are worth being a part of the top 10 most wanted, according to the fans in Japan that voted on it? Tell me your thoughts. I love you guys. You have a wonderful day or night wherever you live. If you enjoy my content, please subscribe. If you got this video, please leave a like. And if you want to get notified for whenever I upload a video, please click the bell icon down below. And with that, Chibi out.